Welcome to this Angular Pivot Table tutorial. In this video, I will explain how to customize rows and columns in the Syncfusion Angular Pivot Table component. I will show you how to customize the height of a row, width of a column, and grid lines. You will also see how to customize the display of the cell content using text wrap and clip mode properties. First, I open an existing Angular application that has the pivot table component already added to it. The pivot table has a list of data retrieved from a pivot data source. If you want to learn how to get started with the Angular Pivot Table component, refer to the video linked in the card above. I run the application using the command ng-serve. You can see the pivot table is rendered with the defined data source. By default, the row height of the pivot table component is 30 pixels and the column width is 110 pixels. If you want to customize the height and width based on the cell content, use the row height and column width properties. To demonstrate, I define the public variable grid settings with the type grid settings. To access this grid settings type, I import it from the Syncfusion EJ2 Pivot View Grid Settings package. And within the ng-on-init method, I add the grid settings variable, assign the row height property to 60 pixels, and column width to 200 pixels to it. Then I assign this variable to the grid settings property of the pivot view tag. The pivot table is now rendered with the custom row height and column width. You can also resize the width of a column in the UI by dragging its right edge. Notice here when I resize the column to a smaller width, the content of the cell exceeds the border and is displayed as an ellipsis. This is the default clip mode behavior. In addition to this, the Syncfusion Angular Pivot Table supports two other clip modes, clip and ellipsis with tooltip. Let me demonstrate the ellipsis with tooltip mode. Inside the grid settings, I set the clip mode property to ellipsis with tooltip. Checking the component now, when I resize the column, the cell content overflows and is displayed as an ellipsis along with a tooltip that shows the cell content. Suppose you want to display the cell content in a new line instead of showing the ellipsis. To do this, you can use the allowTextWrap property. To demonstrate, I set the allowTextWrap property to true inside the grid settings. Look here, when I resize the column, the text wraps and is displayed on the next line. By default, the content in the row, column, and value headers of the pivot table is left aligned, while the content in the value cells is right aligned. In addition to these positions, the pivot table also supports center and justify alignments. In this example, I will show you how to right align the row header content. To do this, I define a public property named observable and initialize it with a new instance of the observable class, which is automatically imported from the RxJs library. Next, inside the grid settings, I define the column render event, which allows me to configure the column before it renders. I assign the subscribe method to it, which will be called whenever the observable emits a new value. Inside this, I will check if the argument has a property named stacked columns. If the condition is true, I set the text align property to right. Checking the component now, the row headers in the pivot table are right aligned. Similarly, you can align the content of the column headers, and value cells using the column render event. Next, you will see how to enable record selection using the allowSelection property. Before I do that, I remove the column render event because I want to display the row header content back on the left. I define the allowSelection property as true in the grid settings. Look, I can select a row by clicking on a record. Along with this default row selection, the Angular Pivot Table supports 3 more types of selection modes, namely column, cell, and both. Now I will show you how to select a cell in the pivot table. I define the selection settings and set the mode property to cell. Now I can select a cell on the pivot table because the selection mode is set to cell. Notice here you can select only one cell at a time because the default selection type is single. If you want to select more than one record at a time, you can use the selection type property. To do that, I set the type property to multiple. Now you will be able to select multiple cells at a time using the Control key. Finally, I will show you how to customize grid lines. By default, the pivot table displays both horizontal and vertical grid lines. Apart from this both option, the Angular Pivot Table also supports horizontal, vertical, default, and none options. To display only vertical grid lines, I set the grid lines property to vertical in the grid settings. You can see the pivot table is rendered with vertical grid lines alone. In this video, you have seen how to customize the height of a row, the width of a column, and the grid lines in the pivot table. If you want to try out the example used in this video, you can download it from the GitHub link in the description below. I have also shared a link in the description where you can learn about obtaining a free license key to use our Angular suite through our community license if you are eligible. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please like it and subscribe to our channel.